Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone, and sorry for being late in starting the session. We welcome all of you here. I see we have a list of attendees already joined the session. So without any further delay, we will start this panel discussion. So ladies and gentlemen, our valued guest panelists, welcome all to this special panel discussion organized by the Telecom Review Group. We will be shedding the light on an important topic actually with valuable views and insights from our key panelists here today. Without taking more time into this, of course, I will start by introducing our key panelists today. So I will be the moderator of this session, and we will have with us today the host speaker, Mr. Tony Eid. So welcome, Mr. Tony. We will have in the discussions of the panel our valued guest as well, Sheikh Talal bin Saeed bin Marhoon al-Ma'mari, the CEO of Omantel. We will have also with us Engineer Bassam Yusuf Al-Ibrahim, the CEO of Ooredoo Oman. And of course, we are honored as well to have with us Engineer Badr Al-Zaidi, the CEO of Vodafone Oman. Welcome all of you, and we are so excited actually for this special panel, which will shed the light on e-Oman, the success of digital transformation organized, and also learn from you about your experiences and your thoughts, how we take this agenda of the digital transformation and the journey overall in Oman to make it more powerful and impactful to the society and whatever we are looking and aiming for in different strategies. So in terms of the panel, the main topic discussion will be around the digital transformation and the ICT impact on, and specifically with the telecom sector and telecom domain. And talking about this, of course, we will cover different topics, including the impact of the ICT on the advancement that's taking place in Oman digital telecoms, and also what are the roles of ICT sector in Oman in applying both the national broadband strategies and other key strategies, including the Vision 2040 that we are now implementing and following for a few years. And the interest of also vendors and suppliers to invest in Oman will be something that will shed the light on to make sure that all the opportunities, or at least what are the key opportunities for these investors and also suppliers to take part, like significant contribution to this digital transformation. Without forgetting, of course, the discussion on the business opportunities from our valued panelists, and also the major roles that we will discuss of both government and private sector to make this journey of the digital transformation and the telecom space as well is a successful journey and with the potential impact that we are all looking for. So moving on, I think we'll hand over to Mr. Tony to give us the key speak note. And after that, of course, we'll move further in this panel discussion. So Mr. Tony, please.
Thank you, Abdullah. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us in this special panel discussion focusing on Oman's ICT. Oman has embraced modernization and economic progress. Despite being the oldest independent state in the Arab world, it has become the most connected country in the region by submarine cables, connecting the Middle East to the world and transforming into a powerful digital hub. The country is attracting many investors and building its ICT talent to support its digital transformation. Ooredoo and recently Vodafone have invested in Oman as it has one of the safest investor environment, while Omantel already has an amazing infrastructure covering the entire of the Sultanate. Oman Vision 2040's digital transformation is expected to boost the Sultanate ICT market to over 5 billion by 2024, while Muscat, the capital of Oman, was named the Arab Digital Capital for 2022. It's exciting to see how this nation branding on innovation and competitiveness is being fulfilled into reality. I'm certain that our audience will learn a lot from Oman's C-level industry player and stakeholder in this panel. Without further talks, I'm handing over the rest of the discussion to Sheikh Talal bin Saeed Al-Marhoon Ma'mari, CEO of Omantel. Sheikh Talal, it's yours, please.
Thank you, Tony. First of all, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me an immense pleasure to be part of this panel. And I think it takes Telecom Review to get all the heads of the telecom here in Oman together. I hope that this panel discussion sheds the light on the most important dimensions in the sector, provides value to the participant as much as possible. As you are mentioned earlier, Tony, that there has been an evolving ecosystem in the country over the last, I will have to say, 10 years. But the industry itself have taken a different shape in the last 3 years. And therefore, this ecosystem definitely in its foundation requires an immense level of collaboration among various stakeholders, namely the government, the regulators, the players, and other stakeholders. This ecosystem is definitely important factor in enhancing the vision 2040. The government has set a number of ambitions relating to e-Oman specifically, and it has enhanced that by a number of initiatives, and as well as targets. The target of GDP contribution by ICT by 2040 to 10% is an ambitious one, I have to say, but it takes all of us here together to work in a collaborative manner on our own spaces to develop that ecosystem. I will not use this opportunity to talk about what is available here, but I have to say that in Oman as well as in the GCC, we are ahead of the curve when it comes to infrastructure, be it mobile or fixed, or connecting also the region to the rest of the world. Now it takes a leadership from both public as well as private sector to basically take advantage of what is available today, what technology has to offer today to enhance that ecosystem. So I will stop here, and again, I would like to thank the organizers for their putting this panel together, and I hope it adds value to the participants. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sheikh Talal, for this comprehensive introduction, also reflecting the advances and the directions that Oman is taking into this regards of digital transformation and the telecom space as well. So without any further details, I'm pretty sure as I'm excited, the audience also excited to hear more about this important topic, and to hear also the views and experiences from all the dear, valued panelists. So if you allow me, I may start with maybe going through the discussion into very key aspects in this digital transformation. So starting with the challenges. So of course, any digital transformation journey might have the success, but also have some challenges. These challenges might come from different reasons, different sources, and also might be linked to specific geographies or some other aspects of that. So into that aspect, Sheikh Talal, maybe we'll start with you, and then moving also around to all the panelists. What do you see as key challenges that is faced specifically in Oman digital transformation in the ICT sector?
Basically, definitely, there, like you said, in this, opportunities, there are also challenges, as you have mentioned. Now, I have to say that the foundation of the ICT is available in Oman, and we have a very heavy investment when it comes to infrastructure, specifically relating to telecom. I have to say that the pandemic was a very good example where the sector was able to cope with many increasing demands, whether from businesses or government or individuals. So the infrastructure was able to cater for all the requirements. Now, when it comes to investments in the ecosystem itself, I think all of us have contributed in developing that ecosystem. A number of data centers have already been established as we speak. Omantel also invests in startups in the startup ecosystem through its Omantel Labs. So this evolving infrastructure is capable of catering for the requirements of Oman going forward. However, I have to say that when it comes to the utilization of the available opportunities in this ecosystem, there are varying challenges from the stakeholders. One important aspect is dealing with legacy systems, and how do I move from my legacy systems in a way that is not disruptive to my day-to-day business. The other challenge is relating to building capacity, and this is specifically relating to acquiring as well as developing talents that are capable and responsive to these changes. One other aspect is definitely relating to the availability of budgets, funding, etc. But I have to say that one of the most important aspects that we need to focus on going forward is the evolution that is required in setting the policies as well as the regulation.
Yeah, I think we will shed the light on these elements in more details, Sheikh Talal. So also to hear from our other panelists is if we also get the view from Engineer Badr Zaidi, the CEO of Vodafone Oman. Please, Badr, I know, like we all know, all Vodafone that also has done a lot of advancement of using the digital presence and also other things similar to, of course, Omantel and Ooredoo Oman. So maybe I will give it back to you to give us more context about what is the experiences of Vodafone Oman in this regards, and also give any insights you would like to share.
Thank you, Abdullah. And before I start, I would like to extend my thanks also to Telecom Review for bringing us all together here to discuss a very important topic. I would like also to welcome all the attendees, and I hope that we add value to this very important topic. I would like to address this question from two perspectives. Vodafone Oman is a digital native player that came into the market. So we haven't gone, or we didn't need to go through the digital transformation. We were born digital from day one. But that in itself has also imposed different set of challenges. Yeah. So I will address from that perspective. And when you are fully digital operator, there are different challenges that start popping up that you need to also address. One of them is definitely cybersecurity. Cybersecurity will become an important element in managing data and data security and your customer profile as well. So as you become more digital, then that becomes even far more important. Now, also the other challenge is making all of this alive becomes also even more pressing. The skill sets, the workforce skill set that is required to manage a completely digital ecosystem is also quite challenging. And I think what we have done to address at least the workforce part, we've spent a lot of efforts in training. Our collaboration with Vodafone has also opened a door for us for cross-posting, learning from different markets and so on. On the other side, as an end user, I would say, from an infrastructure perspective, as Sheikh Talal said, I think the ICT are more mature and advanced from all perspectives. Whether from a data center perspective, other infrastructures, fiber, towers, submarine cables. I think we are far more advanced from an infrastructure. The challenge we have is the integration to the other sectors. And when you look at it as a customer, because the customer is the end user of any digital service that you provide or any digital transformation that you need to go. And the integration and synergy that is required to complete the full ecosystem to provide the right digital service to the end user is the challenge I think we feel that we are facing. We can't be in isolation of other sectors. And if the other sectors are not fully, properly integrated, then there is always a break in the process. And that's where we see, you find some of the entity and other sector, or even in the ICT sectors, they start digitally, but then they break in between. And then you go into that loop where the full journey is not fully digital. The other part also, I think, related to the investments. When you want to go into the digital and you want to digitalize the ICT, you need also to put some investment. And probably there is an element, I would say, I think the affordability also of digital transformation is a challenge, I must say. If you also zoom in into SMEs, for example. Yes, now we have, I would say, robust, mature infrastructures, but I'm not sure from an affordability perspective it's there. Is it a barrier? Is it a challenge? I don't know. It's something that also needs to be looked at. And I think we have all the players here from that perspective. I think there is something that also needs to be done overall. I embrace what Omantel has done from expanding the international connectivity into Oman, providing possibilities to different connectivity of the world. And I hope when we also optimize the affordability part, then probably we can at least solve some of the challenge the ICT sector digitalization is having.
Yeah. Thank you, Engineer Badr, of course, for this insightful as well. And Engineer Bassam, so from your experiences in Oman and also outside Oman when you were also handling other in the region, so what do you see as main challenges maybe in that we are facing in Oman digital transformation in ICT sector? And I would also maybe ask you once if you can address also, do you see the demand of or the consumption of digital services and all of these incorporated like investments you put into building the fully digital transformation? Is it something that's worth it, or what do you feel the challenge that's in this regard?
Thank you, Abdullah. I hope everybody can hear me. First of all, thank you for allowing us to attend this panel discussion. And I think I share Sheikh Talal's sentiment in saying Tony is a very strong individual to have three powerhouses in this panel with regards to telecom in Oman. To answer this specific question, let me start off by saying what the positives are. So as clearly mentioned by my peers, the amount of investment that has been placed here in Oman with regards to digital transformation has been massive. The journey has been one that has begun a very long time ago, both from the implementation that has happened at Omantel, but also with ourselves here at Ooredoo. As a digital player in the market, this is our subset, this is our strategy from the get-go. We've always wanted to be a leader when it comes to digital. So our investment started early when it comes to trying to be a digital player, and we have succeeded very well by providing an end-to-end reliability to our end customers, both B2C, at the same time both and B2B, by investing in data centers, by investing in the infrastructure, by investing in the ecosystem, by ensuring that we also utilize our expertise as a group, what learnings we have seen in other operations that we could potentially utilize here in Oman, and that's what we have brought to deploy here in the country. The challenges that are being faced, and as you clearly mentioned, is with regards to change management. What is the conceptual understanding both from a B2C, B2B customer? Because if you invest all this amount of money, is the actual end customer utilizing it to its full capacity? I think Sheikh Talal mentioned it very well by saying, you know, are people utilizing these services or not? Because by default, as an operator, we always want to bring the latest and the greatest to the end customer so he can have a plethora of services that he could utilize. But if he's not utilizing it to its full capacity, it's a waste of money from a telecom operator. It's also lack of utilization from the customer. So we also have to play an important part in change management, educating the customer on utilizing these services to their full capacity. When I say full capacity, I don't mean just accessing, say, for instance, our apps or our basic services of the internet. I'm talking about what you can really do with ICT. The level of opportunities that you can have, both from a B2C, supporting by having so many things in the home, so many utilizations for the customer, but at the same time also B2B, where you could support end-to-end connectivity with regards to government services, e-commerce. You can start supporting SMEs and SOHOs in a much better fashion, and then the price starts to slowly reduce when it becomes mass scale. So it becomes affordable once you have mass scale. But if you need to start by educating the customer first. That education also is required from our end internally, changing from a traditional type of telecom operator to a digital operator also has its challenges internally. You need to not only digitize your outside world, you also need to digitize internally in the organization. That also costs a lot of money. That requires education. That requires training. All part of our strategy, of course, in implementing and investing on our in talent within the organization. But that's a subset of time that needs to be invested for any organization to make sure that we are digitally savvy so we can become ambassadors to the outside world and ensure that we educate the end customer as well.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Bassam. And going back to Sheikh Talal, you mentioned in your opening notes, of course, undoubtedly the impact of digitalization on Oman transformation and also the economy part. So we are aware like there are many new capabilities or technical advancement allowing us to maybe boost the digital transformation, including the cloud services or maybe some other enablements. So in this regard, what is your perspective like about the major impact that really the digitalization is contributing to Oman's economy with all of these enablements?
The digitalization itself is not an end. It's a means to an end, and therefore I believe within the Vision 2040 there are a number of targets that are specifically focused on enhancing economic development, economic as well as social development within the country. There is no doubt that the use of technology and the enhanced ecosystem that is surrounding the so-called ICT will help the government, first of all, enhance the citizen experience. But most importantly, from an economic point of view, the economic agility is required. Many investors look for competitive landscapes, and these competitive landscapes are not only limited to economic incentive, but also the speed of doing business. We believe that digitalization will definitely provide the means for which economic acceleration can benefit, whether it's agility, whether it's go-to-market and speed to value, whether it's scalability. So all of these obviously are offered or among the benefits that are offered by a digital infrastructure.
Shukran. Thank you, Sheikh Talal. And Engineer Badr, in the same point, like what is your view on the major impact really the digitalization is taking on the Oman economy overall? Like since you mentioned like you started from day one on digital journey, and also you feel like this is something also is bringing a lot of benefits to the ICT sector. But let's maybe focus on the overall Oman economy, because we will discuss at later on the more specific role of ICT.
I would say the good news is that for us in Oman, the potential is high from an economic perspective. And what is expected in terms of compound annual growth rate is above 8% on year to year. So that's also reflect the potential that can come from the digitalizations and the digital transformation. I would say, as a case, as you rightly said and we've mentioned, is that Vodafone is the digital native and cloud native. We were able to invest in building a telco grade type of ecosystem, primarily by the maturity of the cloud and other digital services that are available in the country. Similarly, if you were to compare this to others, it would be the same. So the more of these digital services are available to any sectors or investors, the more it will attract and accordingly a positive compound effects into the economy. So if we are fully cloud operators, we did not have to build our own data center. That is definitely a very plus point to us coming to the markets and investing into providing innovative services than spending too much of that into building the infrastructures itself. Vodafone digital-led agility has created also significant socio-economic benefits, catalyzed by partnership with local and international companies, including SMEs. Our in-country value spend has reached over 68 million, generating hundreds of direct and indirect job opportunity. That's only one example of what the economy impact we've created being a fully digital operator to the country. In addition, also there are also very great environmental benefits as well, contributing to the country and the government's net zero targets, driving the greening. And for example, the eSIMs that we've adopted from day one, reduce waste, and our simple and fast, effective onboarding journey is digital with zero paper use. So you can see how we were able to be simple and approach the customer service from being digital and leveraging on the digital capabilities. And if you were to compare and use likewise for other sectors, I think a lot we can provide into the economy and eventually to the lifestyles of the Omanis in Oman.
Very good. Thank you, Engineer Badr. And Engineer Bassam, like in the same regards, like this side, of course, the impact we undoubtedly agree all of the digitalization in Oman economy. So maybe if you can also shed the light, like what's your thought about the role that ICT play in economic development, and how does actually telecom drive this?
Thank you for the question, Abdullah, and I really appreciate the answers from Badr and Sheikh Talal. And I echo a lot of what they're saying because it also affects us as a key telecom player in the market. When it comes to ICT and its development, let's go back a little bit and let's talk about technology or telecoms as a whole. Any developed or developing country in the world, one of its key pillars for growth is technology. One of the key pillars behind that is telecoms. Having the right telecoms in place, having the right infrastructure in place, the major driver for development and economical development of any country. Again, going back to the point of seeing this at the group level, Ooredoo group level, I've had the opportunity of working in countries that have been brownfield. I've also had the opportunity of working in countries that are greenfield, and you can see once you start rolling out, and I'm talking about very basic services such as voice and data and SMS, the core business of a telecom operator, the way it helps the economical development in the country is skyrockets and leapfrogs overnight once you launch the technology. When you look at it from an Oman perspective, this is a country that is a completely, fast tracking when it comes to not only when it comes to technology, not only comes to infrastructure, not only comes when it comes to the amount of hubbing or the hub site or the location of international traffic will be the destination. Oman will be that destination. So when you see all of these factors in place, you add on top of that the value add, and this is, I think, where the telecom operators will leapfrog from, because I think all three of us are very clear on the fact that, your simple basic services of voice, data, SMS, these are services that you give to the customer by default. Now you need to give them that value add. What additional can you give them? This is where ICT plays a massive role. E-commerce, how you can help SMEs and SOHOs start really developing in this. You will see the impact when it comes to the economy. It will grow dramatically. Likewise, how you can integrate these small SMEs with the government, and you start having that push between the integration of the two, that seamless integration, that also seamless integration for how a customer utilizes government services throughout. Once this ecosystem is connected, I think it will be a massive leapfrog for the country. And a majority of these things have already happened in Oman. I'm massively, shocked and amazed by what has been done so far in Oman. And I thank my partners in crime here, Sheikh Talal and Badr, on what they have done so far in doing this journey. But also at the same time, we have a lot more to do so that we can make sure that Oman's Vision 2040 is superseding the requirements that we as telecom operators will play in that role.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Bassam. So Sheikh Talal, the digital transformation or digitalization is usually always a kind of debate between the people, where people see the benefits or the potential benefits of applying digitalization, but at the same time, a group of people or the other parts, the risk it attracts or the potential of being like increasing the attack surface, especially we're talking about telecom sector, which is playing a critical role in any nations. So what do you see about the cybersecurity element of securing these all investments and digital components? And what are maybe some insights of key challenges that you may be faced, and how you overcome these when it's come to cybersecurity?
As any organization or individual or even a government advances toward a more digital ecosystem, of course, the stake becomes higher and higher, and the risks associated specifically with the data, because we say here in ICT, data is the new oil. So basically, it becomes more than important to make sure that you have the right cybersecurity ecosystem. I have to say that the level of infrastructure that is available today as far as cybersecurity is concerned in the government is, I have to say, in a very satisfactory level. However, the evolvements of cybersecurity threats requires us to always be ahead of the curve, which means that we will have to continue to invest, most importantly, in our people. And I always say it's key. When we talk about any major transformation, it's the people who determine how you are able to use or make use of these opportunities or otherwise. And therefore, the level of awareness within the various stakeholders is extremely important. The infrastructure, I have to say, will require continuous enhancement. The country has a well-connected, internationally connected infrastructure. Locally, also domestically, the country has many data centers, and therefore you are able to use these as redundancy. So definitely, cybersecurity is a major threat going forward. But I have to say that we have been faring very well in that space in Oman.
Yeah, great. And Engineer Badr, in this regard also, when it's of course, you touched already on the cybersecurity element. So what's your view here?
I would say, of course, as our technology continues to advance, cybersecurity is becoming increasingly important to keep our data safe and secure, including obviously the data of our number one priority, the customer. And as I've mentioned in my first answer to the first question, is that being digital native, we've seen the importance of cybersecurity. And the traditional approach that you use normally in, I would say, legacy setup or the old setup will never work. And that's why we've decided from day one to adopt artificial intelligence in the way we analyze our cybersecurity threats, the amount of huge data that we have, the number of attacks that you get when you are very well connected. And as you can see today, our Vodafone app is the center of the service that we use to provide our services to the customer. So the amount of risk you have from a cybersecurity will also increase. We've adopted artificial intelligence from day one, and I think it's been helping us quite a lot. And I would say for any other organizations, you can never do it the usual way. You're going to have to leverage on the new advanced technology to help you address all of the increasing threats when it comes to cybersecurity.
Yeah. And Engineer Bassam, from your perspective, of course, I'm pretty sure cybersecurity has different experiences for everyone. Even we all share maybe similar risks, similar profiles and exposures, but at the end, it's different experience and it's played by many factors. So in your view, like what do you oversee as happening in the cybersecurity role in the digital, protecting the digital investment and ICT overall? And what are maybe some of these challenges?
Very, very good question, Abdullah. Cybersecurity for Ooredoo has been part of our DNA for a very long time. So it has even come to the highest levels within the group, cascading down to all of our operations, that cybersecurity is a key function within the business that plays a massive role in ensuring that not only from a digital perspective, the entity or the business is secured, but also other aspects of the business is ensured as well. So besides the fact that Oman is, as we clearly mentioned before, is now becoming a hub for international traffic, that in itself causes a lot of attacks towards the country. So we, as key operators of telecom services in the country, are probably, or as usually, the first people to get attacked. So we need to have the grade A, the top notch, the creme de la creme when it comes to security services in the country. We are the drivers of security development actually to that level because we get hit first. So as clearly mentioned by my peers, there's a lot of investment when it comes to cybersecurity. And here at Ooredoo, we also share a lot of learnings that we have seen in other operations. Likewise, we bring that to Oman. And Oman has also shared a lot of experience that it has faced here throughout the many years that cybersecurity has been an initial part of the business. We share that back to the group. There's a lot of testing that's done. There's a lot of operational review, and this is something that happens on a daily basis. This is not something done quarterly, monthly, yearly. This is day-to-day business as usual activity for us. We also try to utilize external services where we try to, say, for instance, hack ourselves to see whether we are penetrable or not. So this is part of the testing that we do from part of the services that we ensure that cybersecurity is grade A when it comes to protecting our key assets.
Thank you, Engineer Bassam. So maybe I have a tough question, which is coming in mind. So since you are all operating or leading the telecom sector in Oman, and everyone maybe is having the experiences or maybe a set of risks they are facing. So do we have an active cooperation currently between all of your three entities in Oman, or are you looking to enable more cooperation when it comes to centralized maybe capability of cybersecurity, because you are protecting again from critical services for the whole nation. So I think what you might be facing individually as organization might be similar or helping others. So I'm not sure, but I think there is a lot of cooperation happening in this space. But I would like maybe to hear from you if this is something you can share. So maybe we start Sheikh Talal.
I think there is more that can be done in this space. Honestly, there isn't enough in this respect. and they cannot be enough. And this is basically, as we speak here in Oman, the Cyber Defense Center, which is a government entity, plays a major role in coordinating efforts with regard to cyber security across the nation. Obviously, all the telecom operators are major, stakeholders along with the Cyber Security Defense Center. The regulator, TRA Oman, plays a role well. But I have to say these are ad hoc in nature, meaning the platform to share is only activated when there is a threat, a live threat, and information are shared. Unfortunately, I have to say, anything that has to do with cyber security, it is treated with a little bit of shame and name, and therefore no one wants to share what is happening. And for that reason, I think it prevents many organizations from sharing what is happening. But I have to say, if there are major threats in the past, there were collaboration, not in an official channel, but through the usual collaboration. And I have to say that TRA plays a role here.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheikh Talal. Engineer Badr, any comments on the same?
I think just to add to Sheikh Talal, for us here in Vodafone Oman, one of the things that we are bringing as value with our partnership with Vodafone is any insight that we can get globally, either in Europe or Africa, because Vodafone is quite well established in these two regions. We get that insight, and I think the security team, as Sheikh Talal said, through a low profile, they share with their peers in both operators. And I agree, it's not enough, and I think probably some more effort is required here. And I think there is some initiative that is addressed or will be addressed to the regulator TRA, so then we can have a more structured cooperations, I would say, to leverage on any value that we receive.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Badr. Engineer Bassam, anything to add from your side?
I would probably echo what my peers are also saying. There would probably be a requirement from the National SOC or the Security Center that, as was mentioned earlier, to play an important role in collaborating with the operators as well as getting the TRA involved. I think the intention is there, that they would like to do that. I also go back to the point that was mentioned by my colleagues, is that if a situation does arise where one of the operators is attacked, I think due to the relationships that we have from our teams on the ground, the operational teams, there is they do get in touch with each other. They do inform each other saying, look, there is a problem. You may be affected as well. This is purely, at the end of the day, I think all three operators care about one thing, and that's the safety and security of Oman. So At this point in time, we don't look at it as I'm not going to share this with you. Quite the opposite. I want to share this with my colleagues, because at the end of the time, if anything happens to me, it will impact them or vice versa as well. So I think when it comes to a real security issue, we do share this with each other, but I think there needs to be some proactiveness, as mentioned by my colleagues as well. So I agree with their statements.
Yeah. No, great. Thank you, everyone from the panelists for
I guess we achieved something, Abdullah. Now we have commitment from all operators about the increased cooperation for the safety of Oman users.
Yeah, no, they are actually. We all know the tight relationship between all of these, because they are playing, of course.
We have commitment from all of them.
No, definitely. And in this regard, since we are talking about cooperation between the telecom leaders in this space, I think also it's worth to mention or discuss about also the government investment, because now we heard about the investment the government is making into establishing itself as a full-fledged hub for disaster recovery services, and some maybe different initiatives on the national, leading maybe on national level. In this regard, Sheikh Talal, what maybe is there any other services you are working currently with the government in this regard to help contributing to the digital transformation or the ICT impact?
Disaster recovery is an important aspect. As you know, when you are working in anything relating to technology, it's very important from the start to keep it as part of your foundation and enhance it as you go further. Of course, there are a number of initiatives that we are working together as we are moving some government services into the cloud. So there is the so-called cloud mirroring in a number of data centers for some of these services. I will not talk a lot about connectivity because I think from a connectivity point of view, we have a very established ring, so-called ring approach, where there are a number of parallel transmission routes that are available and they are able to cope. But most of the investment at this point of time, as we move some government entities into the cloud, is we work in cloud mirroring. We are building that through a number of data centers across the country. The industry also has certain standards, which I'm sure you are aware of, that require certain level of capacity, certain geographical also distancing is required. The locations are required to be away from floodings, earthquake, etc. So there is a lot of science behind this, and most of our investment relating to disaster recovery, along with the government of Oman, is based on these standards.
Yeah, thank you, Sheikh Talal. And Engineer Badr, what's your review and what you would like to share on this regard as well?
I would say, as a new global challenger coming into the Omani market, probably we are very busy in building the foundation. But while we do so, we have also established foundations and reviewing the activities of the government. So then we can identify where we can play roles and support the government in achieving its objective and vision of 2040. We are particularly very excited about some of the fourth industrial potentials like big data, AI, and Internet of Things. We see great scope for using these cutting-edge technologies to add value in tandem with Vodafone's global know-how and expertise as well. We are currently exploring probably few initiatives with the Oman governments and private entities that we hope to see the light on one day very soon.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Badr. And Engineer Bassam.
If you could repeat the question, please, Abdullah.
Is there any services you are working with the government currently in this space of digital? Yeah.
There are many services that we are working on with the government, that we have already implemented with the government, that we are in phase to work on. And I think it goes back to the part of, first of all, heavy development or investment when it comes to our data centers. So we've worked extensively to provide opportunities for the big players to come into the market, the hyperscalers to come into the market that will help provide services to the end user, and majority of those being the government. There's a lot of services that could be potentially implemented when it comes to schooling. So schools could be potentially benefiting from these services that we are utilizing now when it comes to digital. There's a lot of aspect and push when it comes to how we can globally accredit these schools to become digital enhanced schools. And it could be one of the first in the world to have these. Likewise, you're looking when it comes to digital services and our ecosystems that all three operators have built, really. You can start looking at how you can push this to all aspects in the country, such as autonomous shipping, autonomous shipyards or autonomous ports, autonomous building and construction. You can start looking at areas where you can have medical services be remotely placed. You can have telemedicine that could be promoted in the country. So there's a lot of services that we are looking at in all aspects. And again, this also goes back to how we can utilize the latest and the greatest that we are getting from our partners. So our vendors play a massive role in providing us with the latest and greatest, their roadmaps of what they see coming in the future. We also have the opportunity of tapping into the group that we are part of, that also gives us access to any new implementations that we see in all of our countries. And bear in mind, a majority of these countries are either developed or developing, so there's a lot of opportunities that we can tap into there that we could potentially bring to Oman for the greater good of Oman.
Great. Thank you. I think it's definitely a rushed discussion, and it's like the idea that with all what we discussed today is what I can see, like as personal point of view, is we are going into a direction that will help us creating an extended portfolio of offering and services and building a stronger capability when it's come to the digitalization and also the key impact of ICT in the national economy. So in that regard, of course, especially when we talk about the international submarine cable systems and maybe some other unique like capabilities that we have due to our geography in Muscat. So I would maybe ask Sheikh Talal, like from what is maybe your view on the importance of Muscat in terms of geographical place and also becoming maybe a hub for the whole EMEA region, and build that connect as a gateway between Asia, Middle East, Europe, and Africa. So what's your perspective in that, and which direction you feel like that we can achieve?
Oman has already been established as a regional hub. Today in Oman, there are 16 cable systems that are landing across northern part of Oman as well as the south. That ecosystem of cable systems are not going to stop. We are investing at this point of time in Salalah. There are 4 confirmed cable systems that will be landing in Salalah very soon. There are 2 additional potential cables that will also be landing there. Our joint venture with Equinix has been established already in Barka. A similar data center will be built in Salalah. What is maybe publicly not known, that today many of the hyperscalers, and specifically I'm talking here about internet traffic, Oman is the base for the region. Google has the biggest infrastructure that serves the entire GCC, plus other countries such as Iraq, Pakistan, as well as Yemen, and some parts of the Horn of Africa. So as far as establishing Oman as a regional hub, this has already been established. Over the last 6 years, we have invested close to $1 billion only in establishing that ecosystem. We just recently have announced a new joint venture, Zoe, which is Zain Omantel International, which leverages basically this infrastructure along with the footprint of Zain across the region to enhance Oman as a global hub rather than just a regional hub. As you might be aware, that 60% of the internet traffic passes through the region today, from east to west. There is, I have to say, some activities just in the recent history relating to hyperscalers. For example, a regional version of Google services have been launched in Doha just recently. Another announcement, Amazon is in Bahrain. Another announcement is with Aramco in KSA. The government of Kuwait is also working with Google in this regard. AWS established its first local zone in the region here in Oman, and we're looking forward for more announcement in the hyperscalers cloud function going forward here in Oman. Definitely, Oman has a huge potential when it comes to connectivity and global connectivity rather than regional connectivity. We have covered a lot of ground but there are more opportunities to come here.
Thank you, Sheikh Talal. Indeed, it's promising, and we're looking forward for more advancement in this space and having even a greater role of Oman and Muscat specifically into the whole region and maybe globally. So, Engineer Badr, what's maybe your comment on this, especially when we're talking about Oman or even Muscat itself? We have too many maybe advantages there, which help us to be like connecting points and to have maybe access to different regions at the same time. So what you would like to maybe add here?
I would like to say probably I'm very proud that telecom industry, one of the few that has positively leveraged on the geographical location of Oman. As Sheikh Talal said, I think we are a hub as Oman for a lot of the international. And I must also congratulate Sheikh Talal for the establishment of Zoe. We are also very proud of that. And I think Oman stand out when it comes to the international and submarine cables. As a Vodafone in Oman is also an area that we are looking at, and we are also evaluating few potential opportunities. And it's a space that we would like to be in, and hopefully we will announce something. I wouldn't say soon, but it's in the process. But definitely, I think the telecom industry has leveraged very well from the geographical location of Oman, and we are a hub for a lot of international traffic.
Great, Engineer Badr. And Engineer Bassam, also, we would like to hear, of course, from you about your thoughts and experience in this regard.
Thank you, Abdullah, for the question. When it comes to international connectivity, I think Oman has the fantastic advantage, mashallah, being such a sweet location when it comes to geographics worldwide. So it has the opportunity of hubbing the entire Asian nations into the Middle East and taking it out to Europe and into North Africa and even potentially onwards to North America and South America. So that sweet spot of it being such a fantastic place for you to place your submarine cables and route them out to other destinations makes it a perfect place for potential investors to come and invest in these areas. So as mentioned now by Sheikh Talal as well, is that Oman already saw this in the past as a country, as operators, as the TRA, as the Ministry of Telecom. So they already pushed for that initiative even in the past. We can clearly see, as mentioned, already the connectivity to majority of the Middle East, majority of Africa, majority of Asia has already been connected directly or routed through Oman. That leapfrog already gives it that advantage worldwide, not necessarily even in the region. Now is the step after that. What is the intention of us moving forward in further developing and even bringing bigger pipes to come to Oman so that you can really get the heavy players, the heavy hitters coming in, as mentioned by Sheikh Talal and by my brother Badr, is looking at the big players such as the Metas of the world, the Googles, the AWSs. These are the people that you're going to want to bring into the country, routing their traffic. Not only when they route, they also give opportunities of development, gives opportunities to provide very massive services on the ground because by default they will have a placement here or a point of presence here in Oman. So by pushing that gives the country opportunities, massive opportunities. It gives also an opportunity to see how well we can grow the business in this area, not only telecoms, but also the country, and see where the potential can go beyond this. So the hyperscalers see what Oman is doing. I think they're really pushing to the fact that we want to go in that direction. They're also putting, as you clearly mentioned, massive emphasis in that area. 1 or 2 days ago, there was the Google Cloud sessions that happened in Qatar, and there were a massive push also to have presence in a majority of the Middle Eastern countries. And also Oman is one of the top tier countries that they also want to invest in. That's just one big player. So just look at all the rest that are planning to come in. It also means that even other big players will come in, not necessarily these guys. So it's a prime opportunity for us to benefit from this.
Yeah, thank you, Engineer Bassam. Indeed, the potentials for investors and companies to bring their innovative solution into this manner and helping us boosting the execution of different key strategies that we have in Oman is definitely obvious. Since I'm aware of the time, maybe I will give only maybe one round of space for each of the respective panelists to give their maybe final comments in this discussion that we had today, and then we will move to the questions from audience. We cannot ignore the role of audience as well here, so we'll be happily like taking some of the questions or all of them based on the time. And we will have also a quick poll that we would like also our participants or attendees to participate in with thanks to them. So Sheikh Talal, maybe as a closing remarks on what we discussed today, and of course this kind of discussion might take hours and hours and hours without really ending up. So please over to you to give any closing remarks for your part.
Thank you, Abdullah, and I would contribute my 1 minute to the audience if they have some questions. It's been a great opportunity, definitely, to get together and explore and discuss some of the main topics in the industry. So thank you for organizing.
Thank you, Sheikh Talal. And Engineer Badr?
I would say the same. Thank you very much, first of all, for hosting us. I hope we've added value to the audience and attendees. We see the future is bright, and there's a lot to be done in the ICT sectors. And we, as leaders in the telecom side, I think we have a lot to do, and we are also looking forward for that.
Thank you. And Engineer Bassam as well.
I echo my colleagues' sentiments as well. Thank you for the session, and we hope that it was insightful for everybody here with us today, listening in. I also was happily obtaining and getting the information from my colleagues as well, so that was also insightful for me. So thank you very much for that. And I think we can pass it over to get some questions from the audience. Over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. From my side, I would like to really thank everyone from the panelists for their fruitful discussion and sharing their thoughts and experiences. It was definitely a special panel discussions which shed the light on very key aspects and also sharing a very relevant experience in that space. So now I think I will open the polls questions to the audience to participate, while we can maybe address few of the questions that we received, which I think majority is around the advanced technology of AI, ML, and also the cybersecurity part, which definitely we will not cover from deep technical point of view, but only maybe from more of strategic or what is the direction planned in this regard. So let me please just start the poll first, and then at the end, of course, of the questions, we will just go back to see the results that we get from the audience. So maybe until I have to ask all the audience, please, to start contributing to answering the poll. So in that time, maybe I'll ask one of the questions we got is about the cybersecurity, which is a sensitive issue and usually not get discussed in public domain, like Sheikh Talal and others mentioned. However, the person is asking, are the three operators investing in separately for protecting their cybersecurity, or they are having some joint maybe effort in protecting maybe shared system they are already having or whatever? I don't know. You please control what you answer, because I don't know what kind of information maybe can be disclosed. But it's all about whether there is some strategies or cooperation maybe that we discussed to ensure that even the investment taken by each of these telecom provider is minimized and getting more effective with others. So maybe Sheikh Talal, would you like to start? Or?
Need to change the order going forward because I'm being here on hotspot. But
yeah, it's fine. So maybe Bassam or Badr.
I'm fine. Basically, as far as the investment in cyber security, each one of us, I'm sure, invest in their own network and for the threats that they foresee. But as an effort within the industry, the contribution only is limited to information as and when there is a threat. But a joint investment, there is no joint investment.
Okay, and Engineer Badr, Engineer Bassam, also for your view.
I would say we definitely need both. And I say both is that we can't avoid that each of us invests in its own security needs. But within the country, I think the National Cybersecurity Center is also taking an effort collectively, not just from a telecom investor perspective, but from all. I think it's happening naturally from both sides. The National Cybersecurity is doing it at the country level, and each one of us, and even other companies and industry, they have to also definitely invest in their own cybersecurity.
Sure, definitely. And I think this is linked to when we talk about cybersecurity protection is usually, as we all discussed, it's not only the technical part. We have the awareness part. We have other things where Engineer Bassam mentioned, like even contribution in some initiatives for the school education, for maybe something relevant to the role of digitalization and other things. So I think definitely we are looking forward for maybe joint initiatives that will address these parts maybe in the future, not necessarily a technical one. So, Engineer Bassam, do you have anything to add to that?
I echo what my brother Sheikh Talal said. I think individually as organizations, we invest to protect our own networks. And it is like that because it is the Ooredoo network that we're securing. Likewise, for Omantel is doing the same, and Vodafone is doing the same. I think when it comes to, say, the entity or the borders or to the outside world, I would go to the point that Badr mentioned earlier, which is the fact that maybe there could be a potential co-investment area there. But when it comes to let us protect ourselves from the outside world or our internal networks or our telecom networks, I think we do that separately. And there are reasons for doing that because we try to protect ourselves in certain ways.
Sure. And going back to the poll that we posed to the audience, actually, just to share the answers that we got. So the question was, what is the most important technology to be deployed in Oman? And most of the respondents, representing like 52%, they mentioned the artificial intelligence is necessary to be deployed in Oman as technology. And then we had followed by the IoT as 33%, and then at the end, emerging tracking and monitoring technologies, which is of course aligned to what has been discussed in during the panel. So in link to this question and to the result of this question, which give majority focus on the AI. There is a question actually is in terms of how the AI actually is leveraged during the journey of digital transformation. Of if there is any examples or experiences has been witnessed by any one of our respective CEOs, like in their organization. So I don't know. We can start with anyone from the CEOs who's more excited.
I can start if you guys are okay.
Go ahead.
Maybe also reflecting on our experience, I would say to leverage on the potential of AI, you need to have the right architectures on big data. Because the value that you get is obviously from automations and so on. And if you are not, from an architecture perspective, set well to host big data, and then on top of that, both the automations and the knowledge of AI, it will become very difficult to gain a lot of value. So I would say, and again, reflecting our experience, we are set from day one to the big data. And that's why we are able to have multiple use cases of AIs. One of them is on cybersecurity, others on customer experience, and so on. So without big data, you will have less of the AI. That's my view.
Yeah. And Engineer Bassam or Sheikh Talal, would like to add anything on this?
I think for us at Ooredoo, we've seen through our also other operations, there's been a lot of growth when it comes to telecoms as a whole. There's been a lot of growth and a lot of push for automating a lot of our processes, both internal and external. This smooths the requirements within the organization. It also allows us to have a much more seamless and better service to the end customer. So there's many multiple touch points when you talk about artificial intelligence or automating AI. Likewise, there could be touch points when it comes to speaking to the customer. Customer doesn't necessarily even need to speak to a human call center anymore. He can actually get access to a artificially intelligent call center agent that speaks to them. This allows you to further allow the call center individuals to be developed. They can start looking at, say, level 2, level 3 incidents. They become more tech savvy. You're educating now, developing the call center agent instead of the person being just picking up the issues from the customer. He now gets developed. So it's a win-win when it comes to artificial intelligence in that aspect. There are also artificial intelligence and automating processes within the telecom perspective, technology perspective, which means that the systems are extremely proactive, even more proactive than a human being when he sees issues on the ground when it comes to telecoms. The systems already know when situations are happening and they're automatically changing them in real time. Therefore, the customer experience immediately changes, it immediately improves. The customer can really see the difference in the experience that he's getting from a technology perspective. And I think a majority of all three of us want to actually implement and push these services. But these services are very new to our technology. They're very new to our industry. So it's a lot of trial and error, even happening, on a global scale when it comes to artificial intelligence. But we would like to be one of the leaders in that. I'm sure I speak on behalf of Ooredoo Group. We would like to be one of the leaders. And likewise, Vodafone and Omantel probably want to be leaders in their respective places as well. So I think we're all looking at it in a much grander scale. This could be an area for us all three to work together as well on developing locally as well.
Yeah. And good. Sheikh Talal, also before, if you have something to add here, but I'd like also to maybe add another part of a question that we received from the audience, which talk about the process of building telecom infrastructure. It's usually heavy investment, and even moving to digitalization, it might help us save a lot in that space, but still it's heavy investment to make it in the right way. So the question is really like in telecom, and from your perspective, what is the priority to you? Is it like when you do rollout of this infrastructure, is it the coverage that you are looking for, or is it the density, or what exactly maybe some of the key business strategies or priorities? Because ROI is important part, but it might be impacted also by the strategic decisions, like which element you would like to cover.
Of coverage as far as Amantel is concerned are almost behind us, except for any new development neighborhoods in certain cities or developments within new cities. So the focus usually is quality, and enhancing the quality of service comes at first. Like I said, coverage, except for new technologies such as 5G, is no longer the first factor. So very much we focus on quality of service. Of course, the industry, as everybody knows, is running in a very tight growth margins. Historically, at a very low point. This is at a global trend. The growth engines of the past are no longer valid. Data and voice are commoditized at this point of time, and therefore the focus when it comes to infrastructure is always quality, and then what is next. Meaning, when we are deploying 5G today, unfortunately for the region, I have to say 5G, although there were massive investment in 5G, Alabite, all of that, the B2B use cases, although available, have not been really as I have to say, as big as we wanted. So the focus, the short answer of that is the focus is quality. Unless it is a new technology, then it's coverage. and even in there, we focus on enhancing the service value add as a focus from an ROI point of view.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sheikh Talal. Since we already have like 1 or 2 minutes maximum, I will forward the next question.
There is one question, Abdullah, about the TRA Starlink testing. I guess no one can answer it. It's not general. Just should answer this, please, if you can.
Which one? Sorry,
about TRA, they launched this test with Starlink. Oman.
Okay, is it the newest?
Yeah, almost not very new. We have a lot of questions, in fact, today. I don't.
Yeah,
I will.
Can you read the question?
Yeah, I read it
Tony?
already. Yes, of course. It's just, they said it's like TRA Oman launched the Starlink test. This is considered a threat to competitor with telecom operator in Oman. This is the first question. Then the question inside the question, do you think it's a legal or cybersecurity issue because of Starlink deployment in Oman? So I don't know who can answer on this.
Yeah. So just to repeat the question, so they're talking about TRA initiative or launching a test for Starlink. I'm not aware, honestly, myself, what is Starlink.
Yeah.
But they are asking how this will compete with the telecom operators in Oman, and whether like making the calls and other things other than using the direct operators functionalities, like I think they are referring to like new applications or voice over IP and these things which would be provided to the users. So is it like creating some conflict or competition? Do you feel like these?
I find the question exactly. TRA Oman launched a test for Starlink. How this will compete with the telecom operators in Oman, and who will make sure not to use for illegal calls?
Okay, I think this is a question maybe
I don't know if anyone can comment on this.
No, we can answer that question. As far as the test is concerned, it's confirmed. It's in the news, and I believe there is probably some sort of a process to license Starlink in Oman, similar to what is happening in the rest of some countries in the region. I believe it will provide some level of competition, but at the same time, these technologies, low orbit satellites, can also provide some opportunities. And I think with a vast country like Oman, hard terrain, in certain areas also very low population density, Starlink might be a solution. We are using different satellite services as we speak today to cover some of these areas, and I think the service is not as satisfactory to these remote areas because of the shift of the need from voice to data, obviously, and the inability of traditional satellites to cater for that kind of demand. Is it a competition? It's yes, a competition, but it's also an opportunity for us to service some of the remote areas.
Yeah. Thank you, Sheikh Talal, for the Engineer Badr. Beside what? Yes.
Just regarding any licensee has requirements when it comes to security requirements, cyber security, securing there is specific obligations. So if my assumption is correct, if Starlink to be licensed, they will be obligated to comply with these requirements. That's a simple answer.
Sure, Sheikh Talal, it's clear. And I think, Engineer Badr, since we are wrapping, maybe we'll give you one last tough question. We asked the audience about what will be the main revenue streams in the coming years for ICT sector. So the answers were like 53% again on the artificial intelligence, but interestingly, they also mentioned metaverse, the technology. They mentioned the cloud edge, for example. These were mentioned as maybe technologies or areas that will provide some revenue stream. So do you have anything in that regard to share with us?
I would say, looking at the future, we see a great potential on big data and anything associated to the big data. Metaverse, the challenge with Metaverse is the end user devices. So far, probably this is changing in the future, but so far they are not convenient enough that they can be adopted as a proper use cases. So we are watching when it comes to Metaverse, but we're very excited about big data, AI, as they rightly said, and I think there is a lot of potential that can be leveraged from that side. We've also discussed the 5G use cases in the industry. I think that also has a lot of potential. But again, the maturity of awareness and understanding from the different sectors when it comes to the capability of 5G and the potential of 5G, it requires also some element of time. And it's a role that we also need to lay forward as a supplier technology in cooperation with the end users. So I would say AI, big data, and the potential of 5G use cases in different industries are the next potential in telecom.
Yep. Great, Engineer Badr, and maybe we'll wrap up the question section as well with Engineer Bassam. So Engineer Bassam, when we talked about these technologies or methodology, whatever we call it, like the artificial intelligence or the new technologies and techniques, do you feel like really we will be able to convert or to utilize these into generating the revenue streams and in a short time, or do you see it already happening, or what's your thought in that regard?
I mean, the opportunities are there. There is potential to obtain heavy revenue streams from these new technologies, but it's going to take some time because there are little pieces of the puzzle that need to still continue to be built to make the entire ecosystem work very well. I think even the point that was mentioned just now, very importantly by Badr, was that yes, there is, say, for instance, the situation around the metaverse, and it was one of the big ticket items at last year's MWC, not the recent one, but the year before that. Then it slowly started to die down simply because of the fact that the end user devices are not available or very expensive. And it takes you back in history repeating itself. When 5G was launched, one of the slow points of it getting purely launched and really vast launch of 5G, besides the fact that it was very expensive and there was no business cases, but also the fact that there were no devices that the customer could use to utilize the service. So it's very important that a lot of these companies also play a role in that when they launch a big technology like this, there needs to be that touch point between the technology and how it gets fed into the customer. So we as telecom operators also play an important role, and we have done this, and I'm sure my colleagues have done the same in reaching out to companies like Meta, Google, as they're building these services, these devices. They also come back to the operator to say, look, I'm building the device. You're the telecom provider. You're reaching out to the customer. We need to play an important role of working together. So we play an important role in educating also these big players like Google and Meta on how they can define and create these new devices for the customer so he can use it efficiently and to the best capabilities of what we can provide as telecom operators.
Thank you, Engineer Bassam. So I think we are reaching to the end of this fruitful discussion. Unfortunately, time, of course, was long, but it's passed very fast. So, Sheikh Talal, Engineer Badr, Engineer Bassam, we really would like to thank you very much for your time. And we know you're quite busy schedules, but it was really an honor to host you here today. I think we will just forward now the mic to Tony. Tony, do you would like to say anything to close this session?
Thank you all, really. Thank you, Bassam. Thank you, Badr. Thank you, Sheikh Talal. Thank you, Abdullah, also for حفظ الألقاب مثل الجميع. So I'm happy that Telecom Review really make it was the real scene of ICT in Oman was having the three leaders of the telecom operator with us. Really, we're very proud for this. And thank you very much to all of you. Thank you, Abdullah, again.
Thank you very much, and have a very nice day all, inshallah. And thank you for our audience as well for their participation.
Very active session
contribution.
with 15, 16 questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
but hopefully, yeah, we'll see you in another
We'll make
session.
it longer next time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you
We'll
everyone.
make
Have a
it
good
physical
day.
and then we broadcast. It's better.
Definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Yalla,
Thank you.
shukran, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.